Nicolas Cage erupts on The View after heated clash with Joy Behar. It was supposed to be a routine promotional appearance, another morning talk show stop in the long line of press events Nicolas Cage had handled throughout his career. But that morning on The View, nothing went as planned. The studio lights were bright, the audience cheerful, and the host smiling as cameras started rolling. Nicolas Cage walked onto the stage with his usual eccentric charm, long coat, dark sunglasses, and an energy that made the crowd cheer louder than usual. He waved, grinned, and settled into the guest chair. Joy Behar leaned forward with her signature playful smirk. "So, Nicolas, your new film looks wild. I mean, even for you. Do you ever think about slowing down?" The crowd laughed, but Cage gave a thin smile. "Well, Joy, I think slowing down is what people do when they lose passion. And I haven't lost mine." She chuckled, but there was a spark in her eyes. She pushed back. "Passion, sure. But some people say your choices lately are a little unpredictable." "A little?" Nicolas Cage goes wild again. The audience laughed again, but Cage's jaw tightened subtly. Ana Navarro, trying to soften the tone, chimed in, "We love you, Nicolas. But Joy has a point. People are curious. Why take on so many intense roles?" Cage removed his sunglasses slowly, placing them on the table. "Because stories matter. Because emotion matters. Because cinema isn't supposed to be safe." The audience clapped, but Joy wasn't finished. "Okay, fair. But when you show up in a movie riding a motorcycle while screaming poetry into the wind, people raise questions." The crowd roared with laughter. Cage didn't. He leaned forward, hands clasped. "Joy, with all due respect, I think people raise questions because they're afraid of characters who don't fit into neat little boxes." Joy raised an eyebrow. "And are you one of those characters?" A hush fell over the studio. Cage gave a small, crooked smile. "Perhaps." Then Joy said something that crossed a line, not maliciously, but too casually for Cage's taste. "Well, sometimes I can't tell if you're acting or just being Nicolas Cage." The audience, ooh, Ed. Whoopi Goldberg subtly shook her head. Sarah Haynes mouthed, "Here we go." Cage's expression hardened. "Joy," he said slowly, "I came here to talk about my work. Not to be reduced to a punchline." Joy lifted her hands defensively. "Hey, we're just having fun." "No," Cage interrupted, "you're poking. There's a difference." The audience straightened, the tension turning electric. Joy replied, "Maybe you're being a little sensitive today." Cage's chair scraped slightly as he shifted forward. "Or maybe I'm tired of being treated like a meme instead of an artist." The studio went silent. Whoopi jumped in. "Okay, let's take a breath." But Cage wasn't finished. "You know," he said, voice rising, "for decades I've put my soul into roles. I've bled for scenes. I've pushed myself to extremes for audiences. And yet every time I sit here, someone asks me if I'm too much. Too intense. Too strange. Too something." Joy tried to interject, "We appreciate your passion. But do you?" Cage shot back. "Or do you just enjoy calling me crazy because it makes good television?" The audience gasped. Joy's face flushed with irritation. "Now hold on," she said sharply. "I'm not calling you crazy. I'm saying people have questions." Cage stood up. The camera operators froze, waiting for a signal. He wasn't shouting, but the weight of his voice filled the entire room. "If people have questions, they can ask them respectfully," he said. "But I won't sit here and pretend that being mocked is part of my job." The audience burst into murmurs. Whoopi sighed heavily. "Nick, sit down. Let's talk this out." But Cage shook his head. "No, Whoopi. I came here in good faith. I'm not doing this today." He grabbed his sunglasses, slipped them back on, and looked directly into the nearest camera. "To anyone watching," he said, "never let people shame you for your passion. Not on TV, not anywhere." Then he turned and walked off the set. The audience, stunned, didn't know whether to applaud or stay silent. Half did one, half the other. Joy stared after him, still processing what had happened. "Wow," she said finally. "Well, that escalated quickly." Ana Navarro whispered, "Joy, you poked the bear." "Hey, I poke everyone." Joy protested, but her voice lacked its usual humor. Whoopi leaned forward, hands folded. "Let's all keep in mind," she said gently, "artists feel things deeply. Sometimes deeper than we realize." When the show cut to commercial, Joy sighed and rubbed her temples. I didn't mean to upset him, she murmured to Sarah. I know, Sarah said softly. But he's been under a lot of pressure lately. Backstage, Nicolas Cage paced in the hallway, breathing hard. An assistant tried to calm him, but he waved them off. I'm fine, he said. I just needed to leave before I said something I'd regret. He paused, leaning against the wall. Maybe he had overreacted. Maybe Joy had pushed too far. Maybe both were true. But one thing was certain. That moment wasn't about a talk show. It wasn't about Joy Behar. It was about a man who had lived half a lifetime under the glare of fame, masks, expectations, jokes, and who finally reached a breaking point. As he walked toward the exit, he whispered to himself, I'm not a caricature. I'm still an artist. And for the first time in a long time, he felt strangely free.